So I'm recording it right now. So hi everyone, my name is Ph.D. Today we're going to talk about how to, I think I have to mute, yes. So we're going to talk about, how to use the software, the NVivo software. And then, as I said, if you have any question as I present, feel free to, unmute yourself and ask, and I'll be happy to address them for you. So if you were here last week, we talked about how to use the software, and there was a lot of question concerning step-by-step process. So today we're going to go through using the software, and I think when I sent information about the data I'll be using for this analysis. If you don't have the data, that's okay, but you can just watch as I go through the process. Before I talk about it, I just want to, I emailed NVivo representative just to have information about the prices, and then they gave me, then they have students' licenses, and they have three different kinds. For the starter, that's the basic one option. You're going is 12 months, which is $75, and the Pro also Pro has a lot of features that you could use. I advise that if you want to use the software, then I'd advise you buy the Pro, which is $120 per year. And also, if you are using Mac, they have different software for that, and the functions are a little bit different. The price is $103. So this is the price for the software. It's a student price. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of big picture about coding. Data analysis, qualitative data analysis is all about. I think I'm getting a little feedback, so I will meet all of you. Okay. If you can hear me, please type yes, so that I'll be sure that everybody is hearing what I'm saying. Can you all hear me? Oh yes, okay. So great. So data analysis is all about, assigning labels to the significant information that you have that you have collected from participants. After you assign labels, we call it codes, right? And in Vivo, we call it node, like themes or categories or I'll call it containers that you drop all the significant information in, as you can see from the diagram here. And then after you code, you have to sort them. You group them based on maybe similarities or based on underlying concepts that represent a group of codes. So we call it sorting. You sort them, you categorize them, and based on the categories, you can also come up with themes that best represent your data at the same time, also helping you to group the codes that you have. So you move from code to themes, and sometimes, especially when you're using granite theory, you may have to develop a theory to represent your data. And if you are not using granite theory, you don't have to worry about developing a theory. So last week I talked about the fact that think about node as container, right? A container that you drop significant information in based on what you are looking for. So you go in there with your research question in mind, and you identify information that may address your research question, and you highlight them, you label them, and you drop it in the node containers, right? And then you label the containers, and then sometimes you have to describe what the node is all about, the container is all about, and sometimes you have to write also memo. Memo is more of a personal reflection or reminder or any information that comes in mind that you want to document so that you can go back and make refer to them. So I'll go ahead and open, and those who already have the software, you can follow me, you can do what I'm doing right now, so that you better understand the process. So first of all, I have the software here, so I double click that software, and then it takes a little while to open. So let's wait for a little time here. So as you can see here is Plus. They have different types. They have Starter, NVivo 11 Starter. They have NVivo Pro, and they have NVivo Plus. The Plus is the highest that you could get. So I always advise students to take the NVivo Pro because it has many of the functions that we need. So when you click on NVivo, this is what you're going to see, right? And so you're going to start a project, right? You're going to open a fresh page. We call it work area. You want to open a work area where you import all your interviews data and then you analyze it. So if you already you are starting afresh, then you have to click blank project. The sample projects are projects that they have already have the data there. If you want to practice, you don't have your data yet, but you want to practice, then you can click on that and get all they have interview data there where you can practice and also analyze and see what you're going to get, just to explore the functions. So in this case, let's click on blank project and then you name your project. In this case, I will type, our project is more of environmental project. This means that the document, the interview that we're going to use, participants were interviewed to find out their perception about the changing environment, right? So in this case, I will just name my project environmental project. And I already have a document that says environmental project. So in this case, I'll make it environmental project 2, just for my personal reference. And then you can describe what the project is all about. You don't have to do it because, especially if you know what the project is all about, you don't. But sometimes if you want to maybe submit your data to somebody, you want the person to know what the project is all about. So there's a brief information, maybe a sentence or two just to describe the project. After that, you click on OK. So what will happen is that it will the system will open a work area where you're going to start your data analysis. So as you can see here on the left side, here where my cursor is, we call it navigation view. Navigation view. It's navigation view because it has all the tabs that you need. So let's say that if you click on source, all your information that you have that you have imported to analyze, all your interview information will be under source. Nodes are the themes that you have developed or the codes that you have developed, right? All of them here if you click on node. Classification, we'll talk about it later. It's all about, let's say you want to connect demographic information to participant responses. This is where that demographic information will be, the classification. Let's say you want to categorize participants based on gender, based on age groups, and all based on the location. You can all the information concerning classification will be here. So and then here this area is called detailed view, and we will talk more about that. And when you look up here, these are the functions that we're going to use. So if you want to create something, you click on create. If you want to import data, you click on data, and then it has options for you. If you want to import documents, you click on documents. If you want to import PDFs, you can do that. If you want to import data sets like in Excel sheet, you can do that. If you want to import audio, video, pictures, and even memo, maybe field notes. You can import all that information. Analyze, as the name implies, you want to analyze your data, you want to assign codes to your data, you want to create nodes. You click on Analyze. Sometimes also you want to run some queries, and then we're going to also do that to find out what is really going on with your data. You can use the query function. Explore, let's say you want to display, design, develop a visual representation of your data. You can use the explore function to get that information. Layout is where you want your work area to be displayed. How do you want it to be look like? Right now, this is the default, but you can make changes to how it looks like. You could focus on, making some changes when you click on layout. And view also is also how you want to view your data, or how you want to view your responses. So we will talk about it, some of the functions today, and this presentation is just giving you a basic understanding of how to use this software. So we can start by importing our data. So you click on data, and then I want to import my interview data. So I click, and they are in Word document. So I click on document, and then I look for my data where I save that information. So I look around here. I think I save it under NVivo project and then under interviews. So I can see that I have all my interviews. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 interviews, and and also the names of participants. So their first names. So you click on the first one, and then you click on Shift if you are using Microsoft, the PC. If you are using PC, you click on the first, and then click on Shift, and click on the last one, and then it will highlight all of them. And you click on Open, and then you click on OK. It takes a little while to show. So now, if you want to see what you have imported, you click on Source. Remember that source are the information that you have imported. So when I click on Source, I have all my interview transcripts here for each participant. Then the next thing that you might have to do is to explore your data and know what is really going on with the information participant presented to you, right? So one way of you exploring is to use query. Query is where you go through your data and maybe you search for a specific word, maybe, and see what participants say about all the kind of words that they use as they were talking to you. This is not part of the analysis. It's a part of knowing your data, right? You want to better understand the kinds of words that they use, how they use it, and that will give you an idea about maybe what you have to look for when you are doing the coding. So this is not an analysis. This is to search information to know what is going on with how they responded to your questions, interview questions. So let's try word frequency. Word frequency will give you information about the words that they use and the number of times that they use it. Right. Remember that this interview is for finding out from participants their perception about the changing environment in their locality, in where they were located. So you might have to think about some of the words that they might use, and then see whether, how many times they use those words. So you click on word frequency. So when you click on word frequency, you have this dialog box where it asks you concerning whether you want to, the kinds of, how you want the words to show. Do you want the exact word? Let's say that the word is talk, right? How many times do they use talk, right? Do you want them to the words to be grouped based on the group with the stem words? Like if a person say talk and other person say talking, do you want to group them together to measure how many times they talk about that or they mention that word? So in this case, initial, you can just focus on bringing it a little bit down. You can leave it as it is so that you just focus on only specific word, specific match. So it's not like an associated words like talking or speaking or communicating, where, you know, the more you bring down, the more they group some word similarities, right, in terms of frequency. So in this demonstration, I just want to leave it alone. I will not change anything, and I click on Run Query. So when you click on Run Query, it gives you information about all the kinds of words and also the length of the word and how many times. You can see that they mention east 91 times. They mention think 89 times. They mention people 81 times. So this is a number of times that they mention that. And also when you look at the right side, there's a bar here called word cloud. So this is the visual representation of the frequency of the words, right? So as you can see here, you can go down a little bit. So this one will give you the bigger the word, the higher the frequency, or the higher the number of time that they talk about. So I think they talk about think. Maybe they say, oh, I think this is happening here, and also they talk more about, you know, they mention people a lot. And you can see here they mention also water a lot and an island a lot. So this is just to give you information about what they mentioned. Sometimes it doesn't really make sense to you. Don't worry about that, because this is not the main analysis. This is for you to better understand what they are saying, the kind of words that they use. You can also change the display by clicking the options up here. And so you can see that.
Doctor?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
How did you get to where you can have those words listed like that? What did you click on?
Oh, the words listed. Okay. So you click on summary on your right side. Okay. Whenever you run it, that is the first thing that it comes, right? It gives you the summary, the number of words count, and also the length, right? And then when you on the left side where my cursor is, under that we have word cloud. This is where it gives you a visual display of that. And this information might be very interesting if, let's say, you are presenting your findings and then you want to talk about what participants were, the kind of words they are repeating. Maybe it's in line with one of your themes. You can just right-click that information and export. So you can export this in as PDF, and then when you're doing your presentation or when you are presenting your finding, you can paste it in your document to show the kind of words that they were using, if it makes sense, right, to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So any other question? Let me give you the chance. I don't want to go ahead, and there are questions that I have to respond. So any question? Let me open. Yes.
Hey, Dr. Du, this
Yes.
is Dante. I was curious. I have the Student Pro version. I guess you have the Plus version, which has some extra features. Is that something that we can get through the school, or did you purchase that yourself, or how did the?
Yes. So the school doesn't give us that. You have to purchase yourself. I'm currently using the trial version NVivo 11 because the one that I have is NVivo 10. So, and it hasn't expired yet. It will expire, I think, next year, maybe June. so I don't want to buy a new one. So
right.
for this demonstration, because they have come up with a new one, which is NVivo 11, which is a very nice display compared to NVivo 10, I think that's why I'm using this one. But you have to buy it. And for students, I recommend the Pro one for you. You don't have to buy the Plus. The Plus is when you want to do very complex analysis that you don't really need. So I recommend the Pro.
Today. But the Plus has some great automated features. So.
Oh yes, if you want to learn more or you want to do complex analysis, go for it. Plus will be the best. But if you want to do like a basic analysis like what I'm doing, I think having a Pro, would be okay. Any other question for me? Oh, somebody's asking whether there's a meaning between the colors. No, there's no meaning. It's just giving you information about, so it's just a visual display, just to make it nice. The meaning from this one is the bigger the word or the font of the word, the higher the frequency, the number of time they talk about. So you can see here, think. This means that some people said, okay, I think this is happening. I think this should be done. I think, because of that, you can see that most of the things that they are saying are perception, right? It gives you an idea about how they are responding to your questions. Any other question? Should I go on? This time I want you to understand. Okay. So, okay, let's go on. So let me move on or mute everyone, and then I'll go on with it. So this is one way of understanding your data. Let's say you want to see what they talk about water, because water is one of the things that they were saying. So you can search for this information too. You can, after you've done, you can close it. It's not stored, so you can rerun it again if you want to. So let's go to query and let's search for word water and see what they talk about concerning water. So you click on test search, and then under search for, you type water. And then you have option here. You can ask the NVivo to save your results for you, or you can just run it. In this case, I'll just run it for now. But if you want to save your results, you can click on run and save results. So let's see. Let's click on run the query. So here you can see that the first one is the name of participant and also the folder that the information are in. And also the reference is how many times each participant said water. Barbara said water 14 times, and also Suzanne said water 11 times. And then you can see on your right side, the one thing that is very interesting is the word tree. You click on the word tree, and this is what you're going to get. Sometimes, you can't see everything, and there's an option here that you could do. You can right-click here. You can right-click on the top here, and then click on undock. What will happen is that it will pull up the results so that it will be larger here so that everybody will see instead of in the corner here. So I'll click on undock here. Yes. So as you can see, I've pulled up the results as a separate page so that you can see it well. So here you can see what they say about water. When you click on maybe here one of the sentence, so it gives you information about the sentence or the words before and after, so that you can know the context of the word. So what did they say about water? So you can click on it. This one will also give you an idea about, okay, if I start coding, what kind of code should I use, right? What kind of label should I use? Because now you are getting to know your data, right? So, and if you want to increase the context, like words before and after, you can increase it by clicking up here. So I can make it like 6 words before and 6 words after, just to get more information about that. And also this one, you can export that information if you want to display that information in your presentation or in your presenting of your findings about what they say about water. You can right click and then you click on export, and then you can export this diagram. Any question concerning that? Let me give you the chance. Any question? I've unmuted all of you.
Dr. Adu, how did you run that again? What was the, what was that under? What menu?
Oh, okay. So let me rerun it again. So let me close it and rerun it. So I went to query and click on where test search. You are searching for the word. So yes, test search, and then you under search for, you type the word that you want to search for. I want to search for water, and then you click on run, and then you get your information. So when you click on run, this one will come first, the summary. But when you look on your right side, you can see word tree, and you click on that, and then that is this information comes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now you are getting to know your data. That's the fun part, right? The next one that you have to do is to think about, okay, what question do I want to address for my study, right? You collected data to address your research question. So for the purpose of this example, so let me show you something that I want to look at. So I just want to find out, as you can see from this PowerPoint, I want to find out what are their perception of the changing environment, right? What are their perceptions? I just want to know their perception. And then because you want to know their perception, you have to look for the research question or the interview question that you ask concerning maybe how do they feel, what are their thoughts, and based on that you can code participant responses to address this research question, right? So this is my research question, so I have to go back to the data and try to see where is that information so that I can do the coding, right? So I have my participant information here, their interview transcript. Let me click on one of them. Now let me click on Barbara's interview and see what is going on. So this is the Barbara's interview. You can also see that each of the questions, Henry was the interviewer and asked Barbara some questions. And then you can also see here the question one, the label of the question, right? Question one, connection to down east. And then the kind of question that Henry asked Barbara. So when you look through, you can see that one of the questions that you can is quite related to your research question that we are looking at is question 5. What are asking them about their vision, right? Concerning their location, the down east. What is their vision? What is their plan? So based on their response, we can determine their perception about the changing environment, right? So this, remember that this is just an example. So don't worry about getting to know the data well. So I just want to show you how to go about doing the coding. But you can see that each next step that you have to think about is can you group your participant responses in one area so that you can code them based on the research or based on the interview question. Example is that for each of the participant information here, we have their responses, but I want to group question 5. I want to group participant response based on question 5 so that I can code that question 5 separately. Am I making sense here? So This means that I want to group participants with response based on question 5, so that when I scroll down here, I can see all participant responses concerning the question 5. How do you do that? This is where the auto-coding comes in. Auto-code. Auto-coding is used to regroup your data based on maybe the research question, or based on something, maybe the location of participant, or based on something that you want to look at. So I want to regroup my research, regroup my data based on the interview question, right? Based on the interview question, so that when you click on interview question 1, I can see all participant responses concerning the interview question 1. Am I making sense here? Now it's grouped based on the responses to all the questions based on individual interviews done. So Barbara's information is here, Charles' information here, but I want to regroup them into questions, interview questions, so that I can analyze the part that I want, which is their perception. You use the autocode to do that. Autocode is used to help you to regroup the participants' responses in the specified description that you want. In this case, I want to regroup them into specific interview questions. So how do you do that? First of all, you have to check, you have to click to edit. It's very important. You click on that so that you'll be able to edit your data. And then make sure that, you know, the headings are, each of the research questions are in the same heading, right? So example, for this interview, Barbara's interview, when you highlight the research question, this one, you can see that the heading is heading 1. So you're going to make all the research question heading 1, so that you can do, when you run the autocode, you tell the system that I want you to group all heading 1 in one area, so that the system will group the research question, participant response based on the research question. Let me run it so that maybe that will help you to better understand what I mean. Sometimes I talk a lot and maybe it's not making sense. Okay, let's try. Okay, so you highlight. Just a minute, I think I made a mistake here. Okay, let me double click it again. Okay. Click on edit. I mistakenly moved this item here. Okay. So you highlight the question, and then you can see that it's heading 1. So this one has already been done. You have to put all the question in heading 1. So question 1 is in heading 1, and the rest will be maybe as normal in terms of the paragraph type. So you click on, you can just group them. The things under the question 1 will be grouped under normal. So you click on normal, and here you go here to this part and then click on normal. But this has already been arranged, so I don't want to destroy that. So you just have to go through all the questions and make sure that they are in heading 1, heading 1, heading 1, so that you can do the autocode. Autocode is all about automatically coding your data for you based on the interview questions. So after you have gone through all the document, making sure that all your research questions, interview questions are in heading 1, then you highlight, you have to close this first. You highlight all the interview transcript from Barbara to William. So you highlight all of them and you right click and you go to autocode, right? And you click on autocode. So this one gives you information about what you want to autocode. You click on this one, use the source type or structure. This is where you use the paragraph structure to autocode or to reorganize participant responses. So you choose this one, use the source type or structure. And you click on next, and the system will ask you, okay, the paragraph type, which one do you want to autocode? Which one do you want to group into? So remember that we have made all the research questions as heading 1. So you bring heading 1 to the right side, right? So you are telling the system that please group them based on the heading 1, which is what? The research, the interview question. So we bring that to the right side, right? And then you click on next, and then it will ask you whether you want it to be grouped under a new node. Remember, node is all about container. We want to put it in a new container, and then we want to label that container interview questions, because we are grouping them based on the interview questions. And then you check aggregate. I'll explain the aggregate coding for child node later. But you check that, and then you click on finish. So when you click on finish, then you go back to the node, because we have created a container called research questions, right? And then when you click on the plus sign before the research question here, you can see all of the information here, right? I think that this one was a mistake, so I want to take it out, delete the item. Okay. So can you see? So you see how I've grouped my the interview, the individual interviews into based on the research question, so that I will be able to go to only the research interview question 5, because that's the one that talks about their perception, and then start the coding process. Instead of going through each individual document and trying to figure out which one is the question 5 response, now I've regrouped my data using autocode based on the interview question, so that when I double click the question 5, I can see all participant responses here, right? So I see Barbara's response concerning question 5. I can see Charles' response concerning question 5. I can see Margaret's response concerning question 5. I can see Robert's response. Now I can start the coding process to address one of my research questions, which is, what are the perceptions concerning the changing environment? I have to break here so that you can ask me questions. So let me give you the chance to, okay. Any question for me?
Yes. So can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. So Philip, I'm just trying to make sure I understand this. So if my Q&A data is in a table, for example, can this software pull the data out the same way that you're showing us? I know that if it's just written in free form, and I give it headings and subheadings. So 2 questions. 1, if my data is in tables, can it do the same thing? And then 2, what's the level of headings I can go to? Just a single level, or could I go as far as 3 levels?
Oh, yeah, okay. So the first question, so when it's in a table form, there's a way of you to do the auto-coding. But if it's in a table form, sometimes you don't have to do the auto-coding, because, especially if it's in Excel, you can just, import your Excel in this work area, and then you can start coding. So you can see that for each column will be your research question, right? So you already have that arranged for you. Participant response for the column will be your interview question. So, and then the row will be participant responses. So you don't have to do the autocode. You just have to open your you just have to import the Excel spreadsheet here, and then start the coding process. So sometimes the autocode is not necessary. You don't have to do it if it's not necessary. If you can identify where you can look for that information, you don't have to do the autocode. But autocoding sometimes makes things very easy for you to organize your responses.
Okay.
And your the second question, can you, what's your second question again? I'm sorry.
How many levels of headings could this, could I have?
Oh, yeah, so you can do as many as levels that you want. The most important thing is that you have to tell the system that maybe I want to rearrange my data based on level 5. Maybe level 5 might be maybe the sub interview question that you ask participants, right? So you first have to, you can even do arrange the levels in Word document before even you import that information here, so that things will be very easy for you here. You know, instead of arranging the levels here, you can do it on Word document.
Okay.
Okay, Dr. Well, this is Cecilia, right? How are you?
Yes, I'm fine.
I have a question. Okay, when you were saying, okay, first you highlight the question 1, which would be connection to Down East. And then you said you wanted to make sure that all of the questions are under heading 1. So are you going through each name to make sure, I don't understand quite what you mean by that. Make sure all the questions are under heading 1.
Go ahead.
All of the responses have to do with connection to Down East under each name?
So what happened is that when we go back to the, if I don't respond, I don't respond as well, please, ask again. But when you go back to this data, if you indicate that this one, the question 1, connection to Down East, if you indicate that it's level 1, this means that all the information down here are under the level 1, right? So if you run, if you tell NVivo that do the auto coding based on level 1, this means that the NVivo will do the auto coding including things under level 1, including this one. So the level 1 means that if it's level 2, this means that level 2 is under level 1, right? So let's assume that this one is level 1 and this one is level 2, right?
Okay.
When you run the analysis, it will show this one with level 2 under, right? So that's how it is. So, and let's say if you want to focus on only level 2, then what will happen is that when you run the analysis, it will not show level 1 because it shows things under the level. Am I making sense?
Okay. So when you highlight that, and then you highlight the names, correct?
So, so you said I highlight this one?
Right.
And, okay, this one has already been formatted. Normally what happens is that you have to go to Excel or you can bring it here and make sure that you indicate the kind of level that you want it to be, right? So one example is I can make it level 1 here and I'll make Henry, the question Henry asked as level 2, I'll make Barbara's response at level 3. So if I run the analysis and then based on level 1, all the information under level 1 will come, right? Including the question that you asked and also the participant response. So it goes like, level 1 will be first, level 2 will come under, and then, normal. Let me open, let me open this one too. I think this one will help a lot. So before you upload or bring your data to SPSS, what you could, I'm saying SPSS here. I'm talking about NVivo. So you can see that under here you can see on the word you can see styles. When you click on that, then you can tell the system that okay, I want maybe this one creating a project to be in level 1. So I look up, okay, heading 1, I bring heading 1 here. I highlight that. So the system will make this one heading 1. So this means that anything under that is part of heading 1. You know what I mean? And then I can make this one heading 2.
2.
Yes, so this one comes under, and I'll make the last one maybe normal. So this means that this is the head, this is a little bit under that, and normal means that it's under the second level. So you can format it before to make things easy. I always tell students to format it before they import their data into NVivo. Okay, so where are we? I think let me mute everyone again and then try and see whether I will be able to finish this time. Okay, so we finish with okay, we finished with the autocode. The next one is the creating nodes, right? So we have many ways of creating nodes. Always think about it as coding. As I said, you are assigning labels. One way of coding is to create the themes first, or create the node first, and then look for information and drop them into the containers. Am I making sense here? So coding is all about highlighting the information and then dropping them into nodes. But you can do it like, you can first create the node and then go through the data and then drop the information, significant information, into the specific node. One example is that for this perception, I want to group my participant responses to positive, negative, neutral, and mixed perception, right? Maybe based on the literature that I've read, it's good for you to group them into that so that you better, or based on your theoretical framework or conceptual framework. There are concepts that you have developed that you want to see whether they reflect the data that you have, right? This is only one way of coding. It's not the only way, right? We have many ways of coding. One way is to develop your themes or your code or your containers before, based on what has been done or based on the literature you have read. You develop your containers or themes, and then you go to your data and see whether you can drop significant information into the various containers. So I want to group participant responses into these kind of perception: positive, negative, and neutral, and also mixed. So we go back to our data, and I click on node, and I told you their perception is under question 5. So you start the process. So you go to Barbara responses and see, let's assume that the first sentence is talking about maybe neutral perception. But before you do the coding, what you could do is to, because you already have the names of the containers, which is neutral, negative, positive perception, you can create nodes, right, before you start the coding process. How do we create a node? You just click on create, and then you go to node, and you click on that, and this one will come, and then I will type here positive, right? This is my node or my theme that I'm creating before I drop my information or participant information in. And then it will give you the chance for you to describe what you mean by positive. If you don't have the meaning of positive, you have to hold on. As you do the coding, ideas will come. You can go back and type in. The description is very important, because when you are presenting your findings, you have to talk about what positive is all about, right? So then you can give it a nickname, and then here you can check aggregate to the child node. So this means that when you bring a variable or another node under the positive, it will add up to everything will add up. I'm talking about the number of times that you assign a label or you drop significant information into that container will aggregate and add up to the main one, which is the positive. So you check on this one, and then you can also give it a color, right, to make it very nice. So I will give it green as positive, and then you click on OK. So you can see here that I've created a node here called positive, and then you can even bring it. You can bring it separately. So okay. So I have it here as positive. Then I'm going to create another one again. It will be negative. And also remember, you don't have to have your code first before you start the coding process, right? But in this case, based on maybe existing literature or based on how you want to put it, you want to create your node here, and you describe it, and then you click on that. So you do the same thing for the next one will be neutral. And then another one will be mixed. I think I have to take this one out first because it came under, and create a new one. Positive. So I think we have all of them. Okay, so now we have generated node first, right? And then you look through, you go through participant responses, and then what you have to do, you start the process by highlighting the significant information that you want to drop, right? So let's assume, we are making an assumption now. Let's assume that the first response, the first sentence is talking about negative perception. So you highlight it, and then you can just drop that information to negative, right? And then maybe the third sentence is talk about positive. You go through, you highlight that, and then drop it up to maybe positive. So you go through participant responses and then group them based on the, remember that these are containers, and you are looking through the responses and dropping them based on the content of the information that you are highlighting. So maybe this one also mix. So you go through that, and then sometimes you just want to display what is really going on the work area so that you can see where you are highlighting. So you go to View, and you go to Coding Strips or Stripes, and then you click on Selected Items, and you check the codes, the containers that you are dropping things there, and you click on OK. So what will happen is that on your right side, all of the things that you are coding will be on the right side, right? So you can see that I've coded things positive, negative, and other things. And also, you can also click on Highlight, and then you select the you are just letting making the system highlight the ones that you have already coded, areas that you have already coded. So as you can see, I've coded the first sentence, I coded the third sentence, I coded the fifth sentence. You see? So it highlights the ones that you have coded and the ones you haven't coded, right? Just to help you to know where you are concerning the coding process. So you continue to code your data, you look through, and then you drop your information into the various code. There are some times where the information that you have highlighted is significant, but none of the containers are in, it doesn't fit none of the containers. What do? You create a new one. How do you create it? You highlight that information, you right click, and you go to Code Selection, and then you have an option to create a new node, right? Select at a new node. So you click on code selection at new node here, and then you can type the new node that you have to code. You can say that maybe none, if that is that information, and then you can describe what you mean by none, right? Or you describe that information, then you click on OK. So when you do that, that information will come here. You can see here none, because it doesn't fit in any of the container. So you have to create a variable and then label that variable. My variable is none for now. And then you can, if I made a mistake, in this case, I made a mistake by not the spelling mistake, what you have to do is you highlight it and right click it, and you go to node properties, and then you can change the name. Maybe you are going to realize that no, I think the label doesn't represent the information. So I change the name to maybe optimism or optimistic or optimism, we'll find optimism, right? So you can go back and change the code if you want to. There's a lot of flexibility here as you go through the process, right? So you finish with Barbara, you go to Charles' response, you do the same thing, you highlight that information and you drop it, you highlight and you drop. You highlight that information and you drop it based on the content. Remember that I'm doing it without looking at the content. So you always have to look at the content first before you highlight that information and see where you want to drop that information. You do the same thing with other participants. So I'm coding. This kind of coding is called, let me show you here, teaming data, right? This is the type of coding I'm doing. I'm teaming data because I've already developed the themes, and I want to go to the data and try to drop the information into the data, right? Into the themes that I've developed or the nodes that I've developed, right? So the node represents the information there. Sometimes, as I said, if it doesn't fit the theme, you have to develop a new theme. In this case, I said optimism, right? To represent the data that you have, right? You have to be very flexible in this process. And I have a PowerPoint on that, the coding type that you could use based on your research question. So let me open give you the chance to ask me questions as I'm doing my coding. Thank you, Lenisa. You said that this is great, Philip. I appreciate it. So
I think all of us feel that way.
Oh, great! I'm happy that way.
No, Philip, I think it's just that you guys know so much. So this really helps us. So here's my question, if I could jump in real quick and not dominate. I think I'm starting to get nodes, and I'm probably never going to understand it until I get in there myself. So nodes is the way that you're going to classify your data, the mixed, negative. Like if I wanted to categorize my perceptions, I'm using these 4 nodes.
Yes.
Now, when you're doing this now, as you're doing the theming, do we care right now the way that you're doing the data, whether it's coming from question 1 versus 3 versus 6? Like, is there an underlying connection at this point, or is it just that overall the nodes are very global? It's just looking at all your data. It doesn't matter what question it's asked.
Yes.
It's just trying to say, these are positive comments, these are negative, etc. Is that what's going on right now?
Yes, yes, that's what is going on. But sometimes what will happen is that some of the interview questions you can, based on your research questions, you realize that there are about 2 interview questions that participant responded to that question that will help you to address the specific research question. So in this case, you will limit yourself to those responses instead of wasting your time going through everything. Right. Let's say question 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 didn't talk anything about perception. Right. The only question that research interview question that they focus on perception was interview question 5. And if your research question is documenting the perception, then you could limit yourself to those responses. But you could also go back and look into how they responded to other questions to see whether you'll be able to code some of the significant information into the issue related to perception. So I think everything should be driven by your research question, right?
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. And so can I put in a request? And I think maybe that's not something we cover here, but maybe in future webinars, because you know I'm going to be attending every single one of your webinars. I think another one that I would be very interested in is, so let's say we know how to code all the perceptions, and then we had another questions about behaviors. So now we want to draw the relationship between the perception and the behaviors. So like I want to know how we do that code-wise. Because I saw somewhere in the application within NVivo where you can, looks like it was showing you, or it has the capabilities of coding relationships. So at some point I'd like to learn that too, because I think the more I learn about how the application functions and thinks, I think it might help me structure the way I gather my data in a way that is complementary and maximize the capabilities of NVivo. Because I have a feeling that if I didn't know this, I would probably have to massage my data quite a bit before I can even use the functionality of NVivo. That's just my, and I don't mean to complicate things for myself, but that's kind of the thinking process I'm going through as I'm learning this.
Yeah, and also me too. I'm learning a lot from the new version. I think they have, when you go to Explore, they have a visual representation where you can make a comparison. You can make a comparison like participant 1 and participant 2, or you can compare males and females concerning a specific variable. And also you can also go to query and also run metrics, where you can see how many people said maybe have a positive attitude, and also they are male or female, right? You can have a visual display concerning that. So NVivo has a lot of functions, and I'm also learning as time goes on. And I think that when you go to their website, they have a lot of videos that explain step-by-step process. I think I recommend that you can go to that website and you get all the information that you need step by step. And I think that's how I was able to learn the basic one, and I'm still continuing to learn. And the more you learn, the more you make meaning of your data, and the more you make people understand what you found out, and then see if you are doing your presentation and do some kind of visual display of your data, of your findings, everybody gets to understand, So I think this software is very good in a lot of ways, and as I'm continuing to learn. And whenever you get stuck somewhere, please, we can meet one-on-one and go through your documents and see how best we could figure things out. So.
Yes, and I really want to continue on this particular NVivo, so I can grasp this one before we start talking about something in the future.
Yeah, exactly. I concur.
Can you repeat what you said? I didn't hear the last
part. I think we continue with this particular NVivo, so we can continue to grasp the information.
Oh, okay. And I think that the time is almost up. I don't know.
no!
Yeah. So I don't know whether you want me to continue. I'll be happy to maybe continue for about 15 to 20 minutes, just to finish for today, to get a big picture of what you could do with your data, right? This is the basic understanding, and then you can continue. As I said, there's a lot of videos there for you to do, and I might do another presentation maybe after Christmas, after holidays, or if I don't do it, please contact me and we can meet one-on-one and discuss this. And as I said, I continue to learn. So
so basically what we covered today is what you do for this particular training, or is there more and you're going to do part 2? Or
I was thinking of doing part 2 where I can do more of using Explore, like a visual display of your data. I think I could do that. But I think that because of time, let me do one of the very important things that you have to note concerning that. So after you have done the coding, you have to think about, okay, you collected participant demographic information, right, concerning their age, concerning their...
Maybe you need to mute us.
Oh, okay. So you collected participant information concerning maybe their age, their gender, and other things that you want to, demographic information that you want to connect to participant data. So what are you going to do about it? One option is going to doing is classifications. But before I talk about classification, you have to get a basic understanding of this, because if I don't give you this basic understanding, what I'm going to talk about will not help you. So think about it this way. We already have participants' information, right? We have their names and also their interview responses for each of them. I think there are 7, right? And then what we have to do is that we have to tell NVivo to put them in different containers for us, right? Because if you don't put it in a container as a whole, you can't connect their demographic information to those containers. So what happened is that we're going to tell SPSS to create a case for us. Each participant and their responses is called a case, right? So you tell SPSS to, as I always say SPSS, what? Okay, you tell NVivo to create node for you. We call it case node based on participants' information and their name. Like you want to put them in the container so that you can also add the demographic information in that node. So for each of the 7 participants, I'm going to create case node for them, right? And then I'm going to create another node called node classification. It's also called unit of analysis. It's in how you're going to analyze your data. We're going to analyze individual data, right, or the observation. So the node classification can be individual participants. In this case, we are focusing on analyzing individual participant responses. Sometimes you'll be doing a research where you are comparing maybe organizations. Maybe you focus on 5 organizations. So in this case, you are not focused, your unit of analysis is not individual, but your unit of analysis is individual organization. So if you focus on 5 organizations, collected data from them, then the node classification will be organization. In this case, we are only focusing on participants. So the case node classification will be called participant. What you're going to analyze. So you create one case node classification, which will be called participants, right? And then you add their attributes. Attributes are demographic information: age, gender, marital status, income. We call them attributes. Here, node classification, we are going to label it as participant. Attributes can be age, can be gender. So attributes are characteristics of each of the participants. You get this one? Okay, so let me make sure that everybody gets this one before I move on to run the analysis. Any question concerning this? Should I repeat it again?
Understand.
Okay.
No, I think we're fine.
Okay, you're fine. Okay, let's go back to the analysis then. The NVivo. Let me mute all of you. So what will happen here is that you click on create. So first, you have to click case. You have to click case classification, right? So you click on that, and then you type participants. This is where you're going to put participant demographic information participants. And then you can describe it. Everybody knows participants, so you don't have to describe it. Just click on OK. So what will happen is that when you click on classification and you click on case classification, participant information comes here, right? But next step is to add the demographic information there, right? What are the demographic variable? In this case, we want to add demographic variable, which is like gender. So you right click on the participant and you go to new attribute. Remember, the attribute means demographic variable, right? You click on that, and in this case, you want gender, right? And then you can describe what gender is all about. And then you click on value. And then you click value. Value means that you're going to add the kind of groups that you want under gender. So in this case, you click on add, and here I want you to classify participant based on male, and then the second one will be female, right? And then you click on OK. So as you can see here, we have participant and we have gender. You can do the same thing for other demographic information, but for the meantime, you can do only this one. And then if you want to assign the gender, group them based on gender, you can double click. Before even you do that, you have to create, remember the PowerPoint? Now we have created a case node of a case classification. Now what we have to create is case node, right, for each of the participants. So how do we do that in order to connect them to their demographic information? So you go to source and you highlight all of them. So first one, and then shift second one, and you right click. So, and then you go down here, it says classification. But before you do the classification, you have to create cases for them, right? So you can create, you go here, create as, and then you go to create as cases, because you want to create nodes, a case node for them, right? And the good thing is that when you bring your case up there, it will explain what this one is all about, right? So you know what case nodes are all about. So you click on that, and then it gives you an option to assign the nodes, the case nodes, to participant. So assign to classification, and we have only participant, right? Participant information that we have already created, right? So you connect that, and then you click on OK. So what will happen is that when you go to classify, and then you double click participant, you can see that this information comes gender, right? The first column is the participant names, and the second column is gender. So you have to assign them based on their name. So Barbara is female, Charles is male, Margaret female, Robert male, Susan female, William male. Right. So as you can see, now you have group participants based on their gender. So then you can do some analysis and see how they responded to, how their responses are based on gender. You can do further analysis and see what is going on. So This is how you connect the participant demographic information to their responses, their interview responses. And then you can do some analysis by going to query and go to metrics, coding. So you just want to do a table. Let's say you want to find out participant responses based on their attitude. So you click on select and you go here. You just want to see participant, how they responded to in terms of their attitude towards the changing environment. So that you want to have a table that displays that information. So you check all the participants that you want to look at. So maybe I want to look at 3 of the participants. So I check that and then click on OK, and then you click on add. What will happen is that you are telling the system that for the table, the rows will be 3 participants, which is they are Barbara, Charles, and Margaret. And then you also look for the column, right? What do you want to be in the column? So the column, you want to see how they responded to in terms of their perceptions. So you click on the node here, and then you check their perceptions and see how they responded to that based on the 3 participants, right? So you check that and click on OK, and you click on add. You always have to click on add so that it the information comes here so that you can run the analysis. So then you can click on run and see what is going on. So as you can see here, this table gives information that Barbara has missed perception. Sometimes she has negative perception, neutral, and also positive perception. You can see that Charles had positive, negative perception and neutral for 2 times. And you can see that Margaret didn't have anything. Maybe we didn't do the coding at that time. We didn't reach Margaret. So this is how it looks like. And then when you click on your right side, there's something under a metrics, node metrics called chart. When you click on that, it creates a nice chart for you, and you can, turn it as you want, and then you can export the chart if you want to use it to make presentations, or you want to add it to your presentation of your results in chapter 4 of your dissertation. You could just export this information there. So you can see that there's a lot of things that you could do with your data and display your data just to know what is really going on. People want to know maybe what are their participant perception, right? You can see here that Charles had negative perception and also neutral compared to the other participants. You can see that Margaret didn't have any perception. Maybe we didn't code that part. So you can see the nice display of your findings. Let me give you the chance to ask me questions. Okay, so we are getting close to finishing. Any question?
No.
Okay, so
I have one.
yes.
Is it okay with the others on the group? I just want to make sure. So let me put out a scenario for my research. I have groups of people that have different functions, and they come from different locations. So the location and the function would become my attributes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then it can be matrixed against their perceptions or behaviors.
Perfect. You could do that and see what is really going on.
I got this now.
Yes. It's so nice. I'm a visual learner, so if I see this, I become so excited concerning representing the data in a visual form so that people know what is really going on. and it can know the patterns. So there's a lot of things that you could do with this software that we don't have time to go through. Let's try explore function. Let me do something very fast here. Let's say you want to find out comparison. So maybe you want to compare participant responses. Maybe you have two participants that they are so interesting people, you just want to compare what is really going on with them. So you just click on explore and go to click on compare diagram. In this case, we want to compare nodes, or let's compare cases. I think it's going to be very interesting based on participants. So I'm going to compare Barbara with Charles, and then I click on OK. So you see what the system will give you. So it gives you what the Barbara and Charles have in common. So you can see that they have the questions, how they responded to the question they have in common. But the most important thing is the code that we did, the neutral and the mix. So they have, they have some things in common. You can double click that and see how they responded to that. And then you can just, if it makes sense to you, you can display that information as you present your findings. This one, it might not make sense right now because I was just, doing the coding without looking at the content. But, this is what you could do with the compare. You can compare two groups, or you can compare based on gender and see what is really going on concerning the code that you assign to the data that you have. So there are many, many things that you could do with your data. And this is very exciting. You can export it by right-clicking and sending it. So just explore and see what will make. And you also have to be very careful here. You don't want to bombard your readers with a lot of diagram or a lot of information. Allow your research question to drive your study. Allow your research question to drive how you respond or how you answer how you present your findings, right? So if this diagram looks very nice, but it doesn't make sense based on your research question, you don't have to display this diagram in your writing because it will not make sense, although it looks nice, right? So allow your research question to drive the kind of design or the kind of display that you want to do, and also what you want to do with your data. Another thing last thing that I have to talk about is when you finish analyzing your data, sometimes you have to categorize them, the codes or the node, so that you can get themes from it. In this case, we didn't do that because we already have our themes, and then we try to see how they fit to your data. But sometimes you can have about 20 nodes, so you have to look through and see how you can combine some of them, and then you can combine them and rename them. After that, you can export your data by highlighting the nodes. You highlight, I'm trying to highlight it, and then you right click, and then you can export that information. Export. And then, you can export that information, and then that will help you to do the writing. When you are presenting your findings for the qualitative, you always have to think about what evidence do you have in your data to support your themes. So in order to do that, let's say you are writing about one of your themes, which is mix, right? The participant has a mixed perception about the environment. So what you could do is to double click mix, and then you see what participants said concerning mix. Right, you can see what participants said, and you can use some of the codes.
You should have been listening to this too. So when it's time for.
Oh, are you asking me a question?
No, I thought we were on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, okay. So So you double click that and you can see all the code that you did, and then you can go through and see which information best can you add it to your presentation to support your theme, right? So whenever you are presenting your findings, you talk about your themes, and then you bring evidence from the data to support your theme. When you double click it, you can see all the evidence, and then you can copy some of them and just paste it, or as a way of displaying that this is the evidence from one of the evidence from the data to support the fact that some of the participants had a mixed feelings, or they have negative feelings, or they have positive ones. So I don't want to take much of your time. I think I thank you so much for your patience. And as I said, I'll be there if you have any questions. You can meet one-on-one and discuss. And I'll continue to learn. It's very exciting. The software you will learn a lot as you spend time going through, and also review some of the videos. So I will give you the chance to ask me questions. If you don't have any questions, you can call it a day, and we meet again. And thank you for your time and your patience. I really appreciate it.
Dr. Du,
yes.
I have one quick question, maybe.
Yes.
Because we a couple of things. One is that I'm hoping that maybe you could think about doing another follow-up one on how best to report the data from that you here.
Great.
Because there's like with the tag clouds, you can add 3 characters, or you can add have it be 5 characters minimum, and it seems to be a whole different context, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it will lead the viewer to believe something totally different, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering how best to. Hopefully you'll maybe entertain doing how to report or that information
yes.
in the future.
Yes. So I will think about the time that will be convenient for all of us, and then we will come up. I think I will do the third one, like reporting your findings. It's very important. After you have analyzed the data, what do you have to do about it? What next? I think it makes sense to think about that. So I will take that into consideration and find some time, and we will meet again and go through the reporting.
Oh, great. And also, you demoed the import and the coding for the like Word documents or so forth, mm-hmm. textual documents. I've got a conundrum right now. I imported all of my content from an Excel spreadsheet, mm-hmm. and so I'm having a difficult time figuring out how to create a classification and tie the classification to that source.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, so I don't know if that's something that you may want to try. That could be a whole other topic, is importing Excel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I will look for one of the videos online and send it to you. I think there's a short video on that. So I'll look around and see whether we can, for the meantime, and so that there are a lot of videos on how to do some things that you could just get that information, and if it doesn't work, then we have to meet one-on-one and go through how to do that. But for that aspect, I'm not totally familiar. As I said, I'm learning as like you, so I'll figure it out, and I think I'll identify videos online and send it to you.
Well, that'd be fabulous. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Du. This is very helpful.
You're welcome. Any other question? Okay, so if there's no question, as I said, thank you so much for your time, and we will talk again. I really appreciate it.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.